How many times do we really get out there and stand up for men? It's been a while, you know. This gender thing has always been about women. But I've got a guy who has flown all the way from Atlanta, the United States of America. He's here in Zimbabwe, in flesh, to talk to men, try and help them to develop. So I've had an opportunity also to spend some time with him. He's an amazing gentleman. He's an amazing man of God. And of course, he still has to visit the Victoria Falls, but let's get to find out what he's been up to so far. Doc, how are you?
Oh, man, I'm well. I'm in the jewel of Africa. It doesn't get any better than this.
Yeah? So you realize I didn't say your name.
Yes.
So I want you to say your name out to Zimbabwe. Tell them why you are here also. Yeah.
Yes, my name is Dr. Myron Edmonds, and I come from Atlanta, Georgia, but I've been invited here specifically to help give attention to our men in the area of wellness. Mm-hmm. So much has been said about men and provision, men and acquisition, men and scaling businesses, but not a lot of focus and attention goes towards men and health, and not just physical health, but the complete health of a man. So we're trying to get the soul of men back from capitalism and from money making to help them be better husbands, better fathers, and better men in general.
Yeah. So you've been talking to a group of men, well, of course, me involved there. I've really enjoyed the sessions, which is why we then, had to ask the producers to get you to come out here. Perhaps with the few minutes that we have, if you could just break down the core of this conference or this community that you've created here in Zimbabwe, where you are, interacting with men just the way you've said it. What are the fundamentals that men need to get out of this, out of this life?
Absolutely. This organization that I started about 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. I'm a career pastor. I pastored for about 25 years. But I noticed personally that although I was doing well publicly in my profession, I was having a lot of private challenges in my marriage as a husband, even in my health. I had some health challenges and a health scare in 2021. And so it created a burden for me, for men who I felt were like me, professional men, men who had families, but men who were doing well, as it seems publicly, but maybe privately had challenges. So I noticed there are 5 areas that most men struggle with, or I would even go so far as to say neglect in preference of chasing success. And those areas are their spiritual lives, their health, and that includes their mental health, their physical health, their integrity, their families. And then most men are doing all that they're doing at a high level, but they're lonely, especially top level leaders, kinds of men. But they say the farther up you go, the lonelier it gets.
Absolutely.
And so that's the main crux of what we try to focus on to build. And we tell men, if they can win in those 5 areas, then everything else will follow. And you've heard me say this over and over and again in the conferences, and the energy has been powerful. But the main emphasis is this: stop chasing success and chase being healthy. And if you're healthy, you don't have to chase success. Success will chase you.
Yeah. From a spiritual perspective, you've spoken about integrity.
Yes.
Yeah. How do you define integrity? Is this me telling the truth at all times, being upright, upstanding?
I can tell by your question that you've been listening carefully in the sessions.
I want you to share with the men in Zimbabwe, because I think we lack that. It's something that we never really get. We are lonely, like you said.
Sure, and I think a lot of us hang our hat on that we are men of integrity, and a lot of times that the low level of that is that I'm honest, I'm a truth teller, I can be trusted. Mm-hmm. Well, can you trust yourself with yourself is the real question. How well do you take care of yourself? And a lot of times men don't judge their integrity on how they care for themselves. They judge their integrity on how they care for others. I think we need to look carefully at how we take care of ourselves. And so my definition of integrity is the defiance of mediocrity in every area of our life. I can't be a man of integrity if there are areas in my personal life that I've neglected on account of me just taking care of everybody else. If I'm not taking care of me, then how do I show up to be the best version of myself, to take care of my family, my colleagues, and others in my life? Yeah.
Very, very interesting. Well, perhaps because I've experienced a bit of it, and like you said, being up there, you're winning outside. but internally you're not. We've got a seriously high divorce rate. We've got serious guys that are suffering from mental health issues, emotional health issues that we don't address. So perhaps just to also allow men to be vulnerable at some point.
Sure. One of the discussions we were having just as we were on our way here this morning, I was talking with a good friend of mine about Tiger Woods some years ago, and Tiger Woods was at the top of the golf game internationally, and just one private matter with his family destroyed his career. The brother hasn't been the same since.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes we think that our personal lives have no bearing and no impact on our public and professional lives. But he's an example of how it actually can bleed into that. And so one of the things that we encourage men to do is to get help. To me, that's really the definition of healing. When you pursue health, it means you're getting help. Now, that's a bad word for a lot of men.
Yeah.
Men have been taught not to get help, not to show vulnerability, not to admit that they have issues or hurts or pains. But this obviously is not helping us as men. All of the statistics that you kind of just rattled off is an example that it's not working for the culture. And I think that we've personally embraced a version of manhood that was handed to us by our oppressors, instead of going back to the roots of what African culture is all about, which is about community, which is about taking care of one another, which is about spirituality. And the further we get away from those things, I think you'll see more and more issues with men in our culture, no matter how successful they are.
Time is always an enemy, you know, when we are having such conversations. Great conversation, which I really feel the nation needs to, you know, grasp. For us to build better leaders, better men out there who can take charge of this jewel of Africa that you've said, you know. But perhaps as we wrap up, you know, I notice you have a new book that you've written. You've written quite a number of them, but you've got a new one. What is it? What is its focus really, and how can we get it?
So I went back to my spiritual roots. I believe that we need to establish men spiritually first. And so I wrote a 40-day devotional, 40 being a symbolic number of preparation, and I believe, and healing. It's called Men's Breakthrough Devotional. And they're short readings that busy professional men can read in the morning to help them get their minds right from a mental health and a spiritual health perspective. The book can be purchased on Amazon, on all those outlets. But I think it's the kind of book that will help men to start processing this concept of men's wellness so they can show up the best they can for the people that matter the most.
Thank you so much, Pastor, Doctor, brother.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
And I do hope that guys can look you up on social media and follow what it is that you do, because I think it's an amazing opportunity that we have had. The few guys that have been, you know, attending these sessions that you've been running, and I do hope that you enjoy yourself in Victoria Falls. This is, you know about the Niagara Falls, I'm sure.
Yeah, I heard that's a low level. This is the next level.
This is the real deal. This is the real deal.
Konapo, ipapo, ba ZTN Prime, DSTV channel 294, the place to be.